All right, so I'm gonna go live with the We Are RIZIN Podcast and bring Zach Buscape on today as well. So we'll start to run in here a little bit. You gotta turn your camera. How you doing, man? Just have it
Hey,
straight up and down.
how's that? How's that?
No, just turn your camera straight up and
Oh,
down.
okay. How about like that?
Yeah, that's better. All right, Andrew. So I appreciate you taking time to do this. We'll bring in Zach here a little bit later, but
Actually, let me
I
take my
wanted to.
because it caused my phone to.
Okay, I wanted to talk about a little bit about the We Are RIZIN podcast because I noticed you were doing some of that. When did you start doing it?
When did I start? My God, I think it was 20. I think it was 2017 or 2018, and the reason why I started is because I was watching because this is when Ryzen was doing all their crazy tournaments, having all the crazy fights, and kind of just like being the outlier, like what MMA was at the time. Because Bellator was kind of like dog shit. Nobody was talking about. Can I curse, by the way? Can I curse? Am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. And then UFC was just like all Connor. This was like Connor. And so what happened was that I was like, this promotion, Rise is doing pretty interesting stuff. Why is nobody talking about this other than like a few websites like MMA Sucker, which I write for? And I was just like, that's kind of like it's kind of odd because it's not like they're just plucking these like fighters from the regionals in Nagoya or Okinawa. These are they're getting people like Manel Cape, Ian McCall, former UFC fighters, and it was just like, why is nobody's like doing this? And I was like, you know what? Let me try to do my own thing where, maybe get people who maybe are afraid to step into it to, maybe like, a podcast that maybe like, we can provide information and people who are not so sure be like, oh, you know what? Let me listen to this. And, I want to get into Ryzen, but I don't know anybody. Maybe these guys can give us some info or whatever. And yeah,
Right.
that's how it all started. I was on SoundCloud, audio only, because I knew how to do Audacity, and eventually I learned minimal video editing. Now on YouTube, so then that's how this whole thing started somehow.
Now, did you live in Japan before? Is that why you had the interest in doing it?
No, I've been to Japan twice. Never lived there. I am in New York City. Yeah, that's how this whole I am it's the worst place to be doing interviews with Japanese people because New York East Coast time to Japanese time is brutal. So I'm up at night. I like when those Ryzen shows start at like 1 a.m. or 12 a.m. I'm up till about like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I am on the wrong. I'm on the wrong time zone to be doing this stuff. But no, no, unfortunately, no. Have not lived in Japan ever.
I noticed you interviewed a lot of Japanese athletes, though, a lot of the fighters.
Yes, that's usually through contacts. Shu Hirata is probably the most well-known Japanese or guy who manages Japanese fighters. He hooked me up, because in Long Island at the time, that was where Naoki Inoue, Oka Sasaki, and Ken Hasegawa were training. So I was just like, oh, let me just reach out to Shu and be like, hey, can I come to Longo Lyman to interview some of the guys? And he's like, yeah, sure. Let me, I'll translate and help. And, as I got connected with him, we eventually got a translator during the pandemic times, LJ, who was at 4th Avenue 450, I think her Twitter is. And she helped arrange interviews as well because she's fluent in Japanese. And then, yeah, occasionally Ryzen helps us when they respond to my emails, which is totally, sometimes or other times it's not. And so, yeah, that was always the goal, was to hopefully make some sort of bridge that maybe English MMA fans who are not familiar with Japanese MMA, Japanese kickboxing, that I can maybe be like, okay, I can make a platform to get people to be introduced to these fighters who have interesting stories, interesting, whatever. And so, yeah, that was ultimately the goal of We Are Rising podcast. Also, the title itself, I love anagrams. So We Are Rising podcast could be either war or warp. So that's why I also went with that. Because I like if it was like XF whatever W, I can't do stuff like that. It's gotta be like you gotta be. I like when people say, "Oh, did you listen to the War podcast? Did you listen to the War?" Because then it's like, "Oh, okay, it's a anagram word." So I'm just kind of like a stickler for stuff like that.
Well, now we got Zach here. Maybe Zach could do something with
everybody.
you sometime. Zach, obviously, he's lived in Japan a long time, and
Bonjour.
Hey, hi, bonjour.
Yeah, Zach, maybe
Yes.
tell them about yourself a little bit.
Oh, yeah. So I live and train in Japan. So I train at Hearts MMA. You probably know. I train mainly with full swing, who fights in Rising also.
And
And
probably familiar with we've had Nakata-san, Hirotaka Nakata, and Kazuma-san as well on the podcast as well.
yeah, yes, they have their fight coming up soon. So Nakada fights under 18 in Prix. And Kazama is going to the next round of World to UFC. So as myself, I train there and I do corners and translation in Rising, Pancrase, Shuto, pretty much everything.
I'm surprised because when I reached out to Hearts, they said that Nakata spoke English.
Yeah,
and I was like, I'm just surprised. Like, why they didn't just hook you and I up? It's like, why are they making the guy who's like, who obviously I don't think Nakata knows English pretty well, but like you speak English, you speak French, and you speak Japanese. So I'm surprised they'd be like, oh, here we can hook up with Zach. So I was like, I don't know why they did that.
Portuguese as well.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Oh my god! You're like you're like the golden you're the golden nugget for like something I've been looking for. Somebody I've been looking for, man.
Yeah. I pretty much learn everything at the gym. So
okay, gotcha.
I learned at the gym.
Gotcha.
Let's talk about the fallout from this fight. The match.
Yeah.
I've talked to Zach a little bit about it, but maybe let's hear what you have to say about it, Ben, and then we'll kind of go from there.
So as for the official attendance, is 56,000 people in the Tokyo Dome. And it's a little bit lower than Pride. Pride back in 2003 was 80,000. And they sold about 550,000 pay-per-view, which is pretty good number for Japan, I think. So, I think it was a great event, great crowd, great fights. The co-main event here has been talked a lot about because a lot of people didn't see Noe lose. They were surprised. And they talk about that a lot of K1 athletes did lose. And some think those decisions were controversial decisions. Some think it was right decisions. There's a lot of debate about this in Japan right now. What you guys think?
Well, Ben, you go ahead because I'm interested to hear your thoughts about this, post event.
Well, I guess overall, I'll overall say that like the event is one of the best just combat sports shows I've ever seen. And one of the things I did say was I promised myself was that if they ever did Takaru Tenshin, I would buy my ticket to Japan and I would buy a ticket no matter what it took. Fortunately, stuff's going on in the world and I'm not allowed to visit Japan at the moment currently. But as I kind of figured this was going to be like, see, if combat sports ended tomorrow, this would be the best series finale that you could have ever had.
Yes.
Because it was, I will remember watching this event for like years and years to come. It was emotional. It was action packed. It's still like was thinking about it like days and days after the show, and like it was like watching a great movie with a great beginning, great middle, and a great cathartic ending. Not one thing was disappointing about this show. I was all tension, but by the end of the night, Takaru won me over, and when he lost, you know what? I was tearing up a little bit myself. I like to when we're gonna be doing a recap of the show on We Are RIZIN Podcast this week. But my title of the show is gonna be Tension Cried, Takaru Cried, We All Cried.
Yeah. But as many Japanese here. Hey, hi, buddy.
Yeah,
good.
he's part of the RIZIN Podcast also, so I thought I'd bring him on here.
Hey, Chris, what's up?
Nothing much. Don't mind me. I just wanted to be a part of the conversation. Keep going.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just want to say, we all cried. That attendance. 50 plus. I think it was probably about 60,000.
Yes,
if 50,000 paid, but 60,000 were definitely, because when they showed and this is the one thing I don't like that one does that I hate. They'll say, "Oh, we have everybody's here. Everybody in Singapore is here," and meanwhile they don't show one shot of the entire crowd. They showed a wide shot of the entire. I don't think I saw one empty seat
because
in the Tokyo Dome.
One thing is they had when I was there, they had a special cameraman just for the crowd. They were just video cast only for the crowd. They didn't shoot anything of the fight because, as you may know, the fight was not broadcast by Fuji. They pulled out, but instead they have this channel we have here. It's called Tokyo MX.
Yeah,
they had with Yogibo, which is the main sponsor for the match now. They're making a documentary about.
I hope those Fuji TV execs, I hope they are kicking themselves. I hope they're smashing their heads on desks because they missed out on the biggest opportunity due to some. I was listening to you on the podcast, and also when Ensign Inoue was on talking about the whole Yakuza, Sakibakabara, yada yada yada. Listen, I get it. I know that's a Japanese thing. I know that Japanese people don't like it when people are with the Yakuza or doing whatever. Whatever. But
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Zach. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no problem. And so they're making the documentary, which air July 24. So it's be a 2 hours long documentary about the fight, the backstage, the crowd, everything that's around the fight. And they will make a recap of it. And it will focus on Tenshin and Takeru. And you will see the backstage, the preparation, and all with a 2 hours long documentary.
And they're going to put that on Fuji, right?
And as
that'd be fun.
Fuji,
it'd be ironic.
Says, on gossip, I will say I don't have any source that can allow me to tell if it's true. But in Gossip magazine, there is reports that Fuji deeply regrets pulling out. And on that night, the national audience on TV for Fuji was only 6%.
Oh, I read the article. I think it was may have been Tokyo Sports. It was Yahoo Tokyo or whatever, Yahoo Japan. But no, I read that. Yeah, that's what I thought. And I'm not surprised in the least that listen, I mean, what was it, 500,000 buys on the day of? And I know they're also not counting international buys because us international folk have to go through some unique methods to watch this show. Yes. And then the repeat the day after, which then got even bigger views. And that's very rare, especially now.
Because one point is very important. The repeat was cheaper than the actual pay-per-view. So when you're on a member, you have what you call a member premium. So you pay $8 a month and you can watch all replays, all pay-per-view replays for free.
Yeah.
So I think that's why make it bigger on the views the day after.
I apologize. I'm tired. I really got to. Sorry. Who was that talking? Sorry.
It's me, Andrew. You should know this by now. I hate to interrupt, even though it's kind of my thing. But here's the thing about the match not being shown worldwide and only being shown in Japan. I get that the Japanese were trying to put over the fact that everybody in their country was watching it. It was basically seen how the Super Bowl is here in the States. or how the World Cup here, I mean, how the World Cup will be here in the States in like 3 years. But when it comes down to the fact that the rest of the world had to watch it through nefarious means, do you think that if the match was shown on a reasonable streaming platform like a Fight, or I guess you would say an ESPN Plus or something like that, do you think that if it would have been shown internationally, that it would have gotten considerably more, not just hype, but respect around the fight world?
I personally do. Due to the quality of the event, I agree with that. Of course, it will be less views than in Japan, but I will agree that if the show was shown in the US, it will get some pretty good views, even if it's less than Japan.
I mean, it's a chicken or the egg situation. Yeah, how do we know? Well, we'll never know because they never bothered to do shit. That's the thing. Is that how do you if you have bothered, then we can see, and then maybe match 2023 if that ever happens. Maybe they're like, oh no, there are not enough people from overseas talking about it. We're not going to care. But they didn't do it this one, so we don't know. I can only go by the amount of messages I got and the amount of people on our Discord asking how can I watch the match and what VPN I should download. I can definitely tell you that at least I would have guesstimated probably if they had bothered with any sort of, I'll say the bare minimum, so that like the show's not geo-blocked, no English commentary, all that stuff. I say they would have gotten at least 1,000 buys or 1,000 whatever.
For sure.
But if they had English commentary, I don't know, whatever, subtitled, extra Bima stuff, I legitimately think it could have been 5,000. I think you could have had people that would have bought it, watch it later. You would have had word of mouth as well, and I think the word of mouth for this show could have gotten buys after the facts. Or people that watch or buy it the day of, and they're like, I'm not gonna stay up till 6 a.m. to watch a kickboxing match. I'll watch it later. And do that because people do that. People do that sometimes. So, especially in this day and age of streaming, it's not like pay-per-view where you have to watch it, the day of. So, I think they could have gone anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 extra buys. Could have made extra money, and yeah, that's my thoughts. I based it on absolutely nothing other than the fact that I got so many messages on what VPNs to download. And I was like, I was like, the amount of messages I got was like, yeah, that tells me that people were interested.
To be honest, Andrew, and I'm going to be really honest with you on this one, but I didn't have to use a VPN to watch it. I basically watched it through nefarious means. I basically had to send links to everybody. I was probably one of those people that was basically trying to find any and every way to watch it because it was just a once-in-a-lifetime thing that I just couldn't miss.
On live,
I thought was great was, and I mentioned this on Twitter, Ben saw this, or Andrew saw this, none of the American MMA media types were even talking about this.
Oh my goodness!
That was the biggest combat sports event
ever.
I'm sorry.
Obviously
I'm sorry.
2002, but they didn't talk about it at all.
But if anything, they probably, the American MMA media types, they already know. They really don't care much about kickboxing anymore because it ain't popular here in the States anymore. Glory tried and failed. K1 tried and failed to get interest of kickboxing here in the States. Lion Fight is trying and failing because they're canceling shows left and right. But still, the only match they really care about is the Tenshin match, and there's barely any coverage. The Tenshin Takaru fight, and there's barely any coverage of that. And outside of a few sources, obviously, that Andrew and I know, like The Fighter, like Asian MMA, like Combat Press, there's barely any coverage of the entire show at all.
But I'm gonna have to interject and say, there's no coverage because what was being provided. I get the RIZIN press releases, whenever they do their press conferences. Surprisingly, though, nothing for this week, so that should tell you what's already going on with RIZIN 36 in Okinawa. But nothing for the match. We had people who were outside the organization, people like LJ 4th Avenue for 520, Karev fan, others who were doing translations on their own. There was nothing official from. I don't think Rise put out anything, even though they have an official English channel. Definitely nothing was coming for K1 because they don't give a fuck at all. Nothing was coming for RIZIN.
I'm going to tell you right now, Rise hasn't updated their English site in forever. Neither has RIZIN.
I know. So it's a chicken and the egg situation. If there's nothing being put out there about for English media to content create, how can English media content create on things that they are not being told about? Listen, I know that UFC any sort of as like a wink of a fight in UFC, is written immediately. Connor stubs his pinky toe. This is not a pinky toe, obviously. Stubs his pinky toe. It's written about. So if there would have been some sort of, I think there could have been something put out had there been effort. But if there's no effort, I don't blame, Tension's the guy who got knocked out by Mayweather. So what? That happened years ago.
Yeah, but just the scope of it, you would think like Ariel Helwani or Luke Thomas would have commented on it because it was a massive.
Not Luke Thomas. No, Luke Thomas. I don't think give a fuck at all. Listen, this is or Ariel Helwani don't give a shit at all. I will never forget when Ariel Helwani he actually what was it? It was like was it last year? No, it wasn't last year. I think it was 2019. And he said he put a list of all the MMA events that were going on one weekend. It may have been December. And he put LFA, UFC, CFF.
He basically put everybody but RIZIN on that particular list, even though RIZIN is basically the last event of the year.
Yeah, and then he somehow then he was RIZIN technically is for United States, it's the day, it's 20 or whatever, it's a year after January 1st. And it's come on, don't fucking bullshit me, man. You just didn't give a fuck. And then there's no harm in that. There's no harm in that. But I think we could have definitely seen a lot more had RIZIN, Rise, K1, Abima, that's the other thing as well. You can't even watch the show, not legally, but you can't watch the show easily overseas. So why should people even care? It's if you have to download a VPN, it's you're basically saying, oh, listen, we don't give two rats' asses about you. We don't watch it. Basically, we don't want you to watch if you have to download a VPN because if they're geoblocking it for a reason.
Yeah,
has a lot of comments on this kind of stuff.
Here's the thing. When they make,
it because they don't want people outside of their little bubble, which is the entire country of Japan, to actually enjoy it.
Yeah, by the way, Zach, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to get this. I don't buy that K1 doesn't have international rights, whatever, because K1 has a YouTube channel. They upload fights all the time. And if they were geo-blocked only in Japan, I would believe it. I don't believe that. I think that was a bullshit excuse, that's a bullshit reason for why, that's why we can't show internationally. And then I know Sakaki Bar said some stuff about time difference.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Zach, go ahead.
That's
go ahead.
Stupid. I couldn't hear you well. I had some buffering. Sorry about that. But so when they decide to make the fight, they made a fight you remember when K1 Dynamite was back on the time. That's made the biggest rating for Fuji ever. So they try to reproduce the same thing, and for that they try to focus the fights only on Fuji and on pay-per-view. That was the base plan because they wanted to pull up the ratings for Fuji. So the mistake, if I can say, was to focus only on Fuji and not to focus overseas. They could make both and have more view. There's nothing that would prevent or make the view crash in Japan if they would make it overseas. So the main mistake, if I would say, was to focus only on Fuji and not spend a little bit more money to promote to MMA Elbow or ESPN or whatever US media, and make an effort to promote and to make the event known overseas. Why focus only on Fuji and lose views like that? That makes no sense to me.
Japan is the only
come to think of it, that's understandable. But when you think about, that K1 show, you're saying that it was on Fuji TV at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't it the same thing when it came down to being aired on HDNet here in the States?
Yes, it totally changed the ownership at that time. When they changed the ownership, and now K1 is only on Amemba now. There is no TV deals for K1 in Japan. The only TV deals currently known is boxing and RIZIN. That's it. There is no other.
Well, RIZIN's not on Fuji TV anymore, I don't believe. So supposedly.
RIZIN, no, it's gone. Yes.
Yeah.
It's gone. But on New Year's Eve, they show the biggest fights on TV.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
But they don't show the entire card on Fuji.
Yeah.
Only the last 3-4 fights, and then the highlights of the others.
Yes.
Zach,
oh yeah.
What do you think about Takeru's press conference today?
Oh, I didn't know they had a press conference.
Yeah, I mean, come to think of it, didn't y'all see? I mean, I know, Andrew, you probably seen, but there was an entire article that 4th Avenue 520 put out as part of the article. I mean, as the entire article, the entire press conference was translated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So the Fire.net, give LJ her credit. Yeah. Takeru at a press conference, and he announced his sabbatical from well, I think the words was that he said, I want to find a new challenge. Whatever that means. I heard, he said he wants to do MMA. I hope to God it's not true. I was listening to Charles Jewett, who does Sogokaku. He had a podcast today with Babu Jack, in which they theorized potentially, is that him going to RIZIN? That could be. I don't know. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No problem. I think where he will make money will be in Japan. That's where he sells. If he goes to the US, he knows he won't make as much as he makes here. So either he wants to challenge for himself, and then he will go to the US or something, or if he stay for the money, there's no way, no sense for him to go overseas. He will never make as much as he makes in Japan in the US.
Right.
Is it about Tenshin or Takeru?
Takeru.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. He's not going to do anything in the United States, I don't think. I don't know. I'm a little bit. It's always like in pro wrestling when I hear a wrestler say, "I'm going to retire," and it's like I'm not so sure what I should exactly interpret when Takeru says, "Oh, I want to do a new challenge." That can mean anything. Maybe it means he's finally going to become the showboat singer that he's because I know he does singing in his off time. Maybe that's what he means. He's going to go on Japanese Idol and become the next, I don't know, leader. He's going to join AKB48. I have no idea what he's talking about.
No, Andrew. Don't even put that thought into your head. I mean, if anything, the only thing he's probably going to be wanting to do is probably test himself as far as endurance goes, and he's probably going to want to be on something like, I don't know, American Ninja Warrior, the bastardized version of Ninja Warrior Sasuke.
Well, I also think that it's also good because this is the biggest loss of his career, and however long it is, regardless of him taking a break. I think him taking a break is great because a few years pass by, we'll all forget he lost. we'll all forget. He'll come back. Maybe he'll be in K1. He'll make a special appearance on K Festa or something. He'll be like, I'm fighting whatever or doing whatever. So, I don't think he's retiring from kickboxing. I am not getting this. Did not. If he was going to retire, I think he would say, I'm done with kickboxing. That's at least the thing. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
I'm RIZIN. I want him. Because RIZIN, they're trying to get to that level that Pride was before.
Okay.
We need to get a home run here soon.
Yeah. RIZIN's gotten. They've gotten Ren. They've gotten Yuta Kubo. They've gotten so many people from K1, Taiga as well. Listen, if they got Takaru, that is a home run. That is a home run of if that's what he's intending to do. I don't think RIZIN's going to do that. I think he's got too much company loyalty to leave K1. I don't think he would do that though. But that would be.
If you can see now, there's a difference between now and then, because if we look closely, before when it was Pride was selling fights. They were making the best against the best. Now from what I see, we're in a generation where they don't try to sell the fight as much. They try to sell characters. They try to sell guys that you follow and that sell merchandise and stuff like that. So I think Takeru, is good for that, and all the guys they got up. But I think they should go back to what, if they want to be like Pride was, they have to sell fights. That's why the match was so great, because they were selling fights instead of characters, instead of superheroes and stuff like that. We had the best fighting the best. At first, when they made the conference to announce the first RIZIN, they were saying that the main concept was to take a young prospect fighting a legend at the end of his career. That was the main thing. So that's why they made the first Grand Prix, and they had fights, great fights. So I think they have the potential and all the people they need to make that happen again. What you guys think?
Well, come to think of it, dude, you're not wrong. And by the way, what is your name again?
Zach.
Yeah.
Oh,
Zach.
My apologies, Zach.
On my show.
No problem, brother.
But still, though, I think that RIZIN has the opportunity. And for that matter, you can also say Rise has the opportunity as well because of the exposure they've gotten from the match. But both promotions really have the opportunity to do something like a Grand Prix. In the case of RIZIN, with international restrictions now way more loosened, even though it's not what it seems, I would not mind seeing more international fighters join the promotion again.
And also, the next big tournament this year is the Women's Grand Prix, 49 kilos. They will announce it today.
Pounds, super anim weight.
Yes, they will announce it today or tomorrow.
Zach always breaks the stories. Yeah, I heard that. It would be who's going to get in it, you think?
For sure, they're going to bring Hamasaki, Oshima. For sure, to me, they're going to be in there. Miyu, they're going to be inside for sure.
The big question is Reina.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, Reina too. But
all
of those ladies are already locks for the tournament.
No, Reina's not
international talent over there.
But Chris, sorry to interrupt, but I don't know. Reina's had issues making that weight.
Oh, yes. Because she was fighting my fighter. So the French girl. So I was watching her, and we were
Samantha Jean-Francois, right?
Yes. And we were supposed to fight on the Mayweather card. The Tenshin versus Mayweather.
RIZIN 14.
Yeah.
Yes. And so we've been waiting to the end until the fight day. Until the fight day, we were waiting. And And when I couldn't make weight, she felt sick and she went to the hospital. So they didn't make the fight happen. But it was okay. We could fight again next time. It was a great fight, and that was cool. That was cool. But yeah, she had hard time to make weight. But maybe it was only that time, and after she can't make it. Only God knows.
But for me, I've been waiting. You know, I lived in Japan back when Pride was big. You know, 2002 to 2005. The day I got there, Japan beat Russia in the World Cup. Literally the night that I got there, and you know, Pride in the UFC, they used to trade punches. You know, we signed this guy, we signed that guy. To me, to sign Takeru, that would okay. What can we do to get everyone talking? That would be it. Like where people say, "All right, holy shit," you know.
So it's interesting, but
replace them with something, you know.
But I don't know if they do, because right now, so looks like the relationship between K1 and RIZIN is better. I don't know if it's 100% on friendly terms, but if they did take Takeru, I would think that was kind of like, I think K1 would not. I don't think Ishii would be too happy.
Yes, because this is
So,
what happened. So back at the first, when they tried to make the fight 6 years ago, Tenshin said, if I fight Takeru, it has to be on the Rise ring. I will never sign in any other promotion. I'm loyal to Rise and I will stay to Rise. When I fight in Rising, it's because I have the permission from Rise to fight in there. And K1 replied to, then we won't make the fight. If Tenshin fighting Takeru, it has to be in the K1 ring. So, yeah. And it has to be in a K1 event. That's why until now, the fights never happened. And that was blocking all the negotiation. They finally come to an agreement because of Sakakibara made effort and stepped in and everybody talked together and they finally come to an agreement. But it took 6 years to make that happen.
Yeah, the contract is like, they probably have some sort of thing in there where he couldn't go to RIZIN even if he wanted, I would think.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely correct. You ever notice that K1 fighters only fight in K1, but when you see Rise fighters, they fight in like Host Cup, they fight in Bomb sometimes, some fight overseas. You know, they bring shoot boxes over, then go back to shoot boxing. Yes. So that should tell you already, who has a little bit more free. I'm kind of a little bit like, K1 annoys me. I love the organization, but like they annoy me. Sometimes their fans do as well, because I think I don't like the fact that like they basically run it like a K-pop or J-pop group, I should say. Where listen, you sign with us.
I agree. Totally.
We control how you breathe. We control what you do. I'll even say this. I'll even say this for your show, Todd. So back in the pandemic, I was LJ, our translator, she wanted to do something like with kickboxing, and one of the things we tried to reach out to K1. And we had to go through, like, we tried to contact, like, fighters. And they told us, we had to go through K1. And then we got to K1. And then K1 said, okay, you can interview our fighters, but you have to pay us. So I kind of have a little bit of beef with K1 when it comes to the way that they do business. And I don't think that they're the angels, that they're the good guys in this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can vouch for Andrew on that, even though it was more of his doing. But I think K1 telling us that you have to pay in order to interview our fighters is kind of some petty ass shit.
It's like really shoot your leg with a bullet. Because here's the thing, you're from overseas, you're making effort, you contact them, they didn't find you, you contact them, and you try to give some lights on the event and on the fighter. Why would you have to pay to do that? It's common sense. Why I make efforts, I want to put lights, exposure to the event, make people know your events. I do it for free, but why I will pay for that. I'm not asking a fighter, if I ask a fighter to sell my brand, of course I will have to. If I ask a fighter to wear my logo on the fight, of course I will have to pay. But for an interview, that's crazy.
I also had a problem when K1 was saying, "Oh, it has to be on neutral territory," and they never described what is exactly neutral territory. I'll tell you this. I think the only reason why it happened is because, and I think that, and I'm not going to take credit for this. TJ Charles Hewitt on his when I interviewed him for the whole match, whatever, and also he's mentioned many times. He thinks that the only reason why K1 agreed to this is because they needed to make money because they had to cancel a bunch of shows in 2020. And they were basically pandemic was the reason why it happened. If it had been business as usual, K1 has no reason to do this fight. They're selling out shows. Takaru's selling out shows, whatever. They're selling shows out for the Crush shows in Corkin. So they had no reason. But the problem was that the pandemic basically, and the same thing with Rise as well, and also the big RIZIN as well. They kind of had to do think outside the box to recoup whatever they lost because of not running shows or running shows at half capacity or whatever it was.
Yes, because K1 now has two arena where they make the show. They have the Yoyogi Stadium and another one. So the Yoyogi Stadium is the biggest they can have right now. Is 18,000 people. Max capacity. So they had the K1 this weekend, the Ring of Venus, women's only card, but I don't know how it went. I watched it on Amemba, but I don't know how it went in terms of sales and stuff like that. It was free on Amemba.
With all due respect to K1's K1, I'm so surprised that all the divisions are great except for the women's division. The women's division is bereft of any legitimate top stars except for maybe Kana. Maybe she's the only one. But they have a great heavyweight division. They have the most random heavyweight division, which I love. And obviously with their lightweight, welterweight, all that stuff, it's all great. For some reason, the women's division is the least interesting, which is the complete opposite of Rise. I think Rise, well, at least until maybe last year, had the most interesting women's division in terms of all of international kickboxing.
Yes, and now there's the knockouts, the promotion knockout. It's doing great. It's doing great here. All the events is always sold out. They're doing great.
Wait a minute.
Because I know you talked about that, but I don't think a lot of people caught it. Talk a little bit about the Pancrase situation.
Oh, so now this Pancrase is still going on, but the arena is gone. They don't have the arena anymore.
I think we heard about that. Studio Coast Tokyo.
Yeah. It's gone now. It's gone. So now they have to change arena. So they don't make it in the same area no more. But what happened is during the pandemic, it was they make the fights. The fighters came to the arena. Everybody was ready to fight. The people was there. The people were sitting in their seats, and then the authorities came, and they said due to pandemic, the event is cancelled. So everybody was there. They make weights. They had their hand wrap, and they shut down the event like that. So they had a huge loss with that. But still, they pay the fighters they do. So I think that's really respectable because they pay the fighters contracted money. But that hurt them badly, I think.
I think that was Saito. Yutaka Saito. That was going to be his last Pancrase show. Because I remember I had interviewed him in writing before that, and I printed the interview got published, and then the day of the fight, remember, I got word that the fight or the entire show had been canceled. I remember that. Yeah.
Yes, that was crazy. So now in Japan, you have in that order, you have RIZIN, you have Deep, and then you have Pancrase. Those are the three major fighting promotion, and Shuto also. So Shuto is not more.
You have to be nice. Listen, here's how it goes. It goes RIZIN, Deep, Pancreas, Shuto. That's how it really goes. Because Shuto is like, nobody talks about Shuto anymore. I have no idea how to even watch Shuto shit anymore. I stopped giving up as soon as they were not in the U.S. And I know that Shuto has their fans, but like, other than they're an outlier. They're like in their own planet. They operate in their own universe.
Basically,
no, yeah,
what Andrew was trying to reiterate here, is that nobody can watch Shuto because it's not on the Fight Pass. There's no way to actually, care for it unless you're basically watching it in highlight form on Twitter.
Yes.
Basically, like it's just there to be there.
Yeah, like
they've been drop. As far as talent went, it's pretty sad what's happened to Shuto.
Like they've been absorbed by one. So one.
I thought the one thing was done though. Because are they still with one? Because I thought they stopped doing the whole road to one or whatever that thing was.
No, they still have the thing with one, but Pancrase don't have anymore.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes. No, you're right. All right. You're right. I was getting my promotion mixed up.
It stopped with Pancrase, yes.
And one thing Zach mentioned was that the one vice president in Japan stepped down the same day that Sakakibara got kind of in hot water.
Well,
nobody talked about it.
But we don't know what really happened. But now he's in the NBA. He's doing great. He's doing great. But
what about Pancrase? Do you think it's going to stick around or what?
No, I don't. I think he's going to stay in the NBA.
No, Pancrase. What do you think about
Pancrase? I mean, for now, they pretty much, sell the tickets. It sells, doing okay. But, it's the same problem. There is no international talent. So
that was the only thing I liked about Pancrase is that they so you had Deep and then Pancrase and Shuto, but out of those three, I guess if you want to count them as regional, Pancrase would always bring over JJ Ambrose from Guam or somebody else from Brazil because you had the Pancrase or whatever the thing in Brazil, I think, or whatever jungle fights. There's always some jungle fighter from Brazil. That's what I like about Pancrase.
Yes. I've been with them, coaching them a lot. So I was with Rafael Mosego, which was the champion. I've been with Nazareno Magalari. I've been with Glaico Nego for the title match. I've been with Rogero Botorin. And who else? I've been with Jared Brooks.
Zach is fighting in Deep here pretty soon.
Yes, it should be in September.
Yeah.
So, mainly what I do is corners. So, fighters come in Japan and they ask me to help them make weights, train them for the last part of the camp, be their partner, translate, all that. So, mainly that's what I do.
People from the match have hired you to be their English outreach. They've actually gone good English outreach for the match, and Takaru and Tenshin and Rikuyu Yamashita or whoever. They could have done so much better with you. I don't know why the fuck they didn't hire you, Zach.
No worries. Anytime. And so one thing is, before the fights, they bring cameras in the locker room, right? And they ask about Takeru and Tenshin. So Takeru said, this is like the final boss for me in kickboxing. And Takeru replied that the same goes for me, but if I lose, that's it for me. So I don't know what's going to be next.
Do you think they'll match up like Inui and Tenshin on like the same cards, perhaps? Like kind of a double bill?
Like the Monster Inoue?
Yeah, I mean, like he'll be in the main event, maybe tension in the semi-main, just to build him up. To have him on the same card.
Maybe it depends where he signs. If he signs with Top Rank.
Because I'm interested how that project's going to go.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
Or are they going to just bring tension to the U.S.? And I don't think it would make sense, but, maybe they will.
Yeah.
They should not. Listen, here's the thing. If he's on a U.S. card, he's on the bottom of the prelims, and he better know that that's where they're going to put him, and he's going to be put up against some Mexican or guy from the Philippines who's been so Tension's been trained kickboxing since however 5, 6, 7, 8. You got a boxer who's been doing the same stuff at the same age, but just for boxing. So if he doesn't realize that, he's going to be
Andrew, that's exactly what I said when we talked about the match. Is that, eventually Tension's going to face off against some cab drivers from Manila or Mexico City. But the fact of the matter is, what Tension doesn't realize is the fact that if he goes into boxing, he's going to have to start on the lower rung cards in these rundown places anyways.
I don't think the rundown places.
You put him on the card with the Nui and do huge numbers, just like
in Japan. I think he could do that in Japan, but not like
huge.
Not Vegas, not in Vegas or California or New Mexico or whatever.
If they put him in Tokyo Dome, them on the same card, it would be huge.
Yeah, I think so.
It'd be the match all over again.
Yeah. The problem is for the match 2023, K1 says they don't want to do it.
Right.
They say they won't do it.
Right.
You can't do it. No, you can't. This is a once in a lifetime event. This is never. I shouldn't say never going to be replicated. Not for a long time. You can't just do. Oh, we're going to do the match every year. You can't because it's not. Because then it's not the match. It's whatever. It's the reason why video games like that. I don't know if there's any video games player here, but there's a reason why Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed and all these other video games are no longer special because they come, or actually Madden or FIFA, because they come out with them every year, and what they do, it's the same fucking. Well, actually, no, I shouldn't say it's the same game. They take out shit and it becomes worse, and that's what's going to happen. Match 2023. What could you have in the main event? I have no idea, and that's nothing.
That's it. That's it. They don't need to do it again.
Yeah, but people are approaching Sakaki Bar. Like, how can we get this many people in here again?
Hey, if he's honest, he'll say not in another 20
on the same card. That's how you do it.
Yeah,
that's the only thing
we have. We have RIZIN 36, July 2, I think, this weekend. Then there's the one in 31st. And then there's another one in September.
Yeah. Mikaru Floyd is not getting anywhere near the same. I don't think it's going to – I think it'll sell out, but I don't think the interest is even going to come close to what Tension and Floyd did. Not even on the same wavelength.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. We've been talking about this in the gym. Nobody cares.
On this side, on this side of the week, nobody cares. But obviously in Japan, everybody cares.
No, nobody cares in Japan. I
Japan. He's talking about in his own gym.
We don't care at all. Like, the people who care about is, people who just want to come and watch a show. I think in the US you call casuals. Casual or something like that.
Oh, casual fans. Fans. Yeah.
Yes. So they just want to see a big name, fight another big name, and that's it. Just sit, buy merchandising, T-shirts, take pictures. I've been to a great, one of the greatest event of the year, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, come to think of it, and I discussed this with Mike the Truth Jackson, UFC welterweight, on the podcast that I host aside from the We Are Rising podcast. It's called Focus Fights Audio. It's available on every other podcast platform out there. But I basically discussed this with Mike Jackson, and it's basically nothing more but a brand name going over there to make money and,
Exactly.
make money, fight, and fuck off, so to speak.
Exactly. That's how it is. Because we've been talking about that at the gym, and we were thinking, why using that much money to bring Floyd, which is the most expensive athlete you can get, instead of making some development in the own Japanese scene, like making like a UFC PI or something like that, inject money to bring more talents from overseas, easier the things, instead of making one big fight and that's it.
So I had a theory that that this, it's to sell the RIZIN Stream Pass or whatever the fuck they changed the name like 3 times at this point. I don't even know what it's called, the RIZIN Fight Pass. But the problem, so Zach, you don't know. I don't know if you know this, but Chris and I think Todd, you probably knows. The original Mayweather tension fight was not available to us in the United States, in North America. You had to go through other methods. So if their whole thing, I know the RIZIN Stream Pass is officially up now, but my guess is that they're probably banking on the 37 show to be like, okay, we're going to have the thing all ready to go, like truly ready to go, all that stuff, and we're going to get our most subscribers in. If their whole thing is to get international subscribers for that, will that fight even be available to us? I don't even know if it'll be available to Chris and I and Todd for us to see. We might have to go on Twitch like we had to do with Tension Mayweather. So that's another thing I'm very confused about, because if their whole thing is to get international viewers, can they even guarantee that Mayweather is going to be even seen here internationally? And I don't even know that they're going to do that.
That's the big question.
Because if you think about it, Floyd's last couple of exhibition fights after the Tension debacle, which was shown in English but wasn't shown in North America, by the way. But his last 2 fights, his exhibition against Don Moore and his exhibition, if you want to call it that, against Logan Paul, were both shown internationally. The Paul fight via Showtime pay-per-view. The Don Moore fight, I think it was either via Live Now or Fight. I can't really tell.
Yeah.
But still, though, it's
because
gonna. If they don't deliver on this being a key for international viewers to follow the promotion, it's gonna come
Instagram's gonna cut me off here in like 2 minutes, so we'll just wrap it up. Zach, have you heard anything we haven't heard about?
But now it's in Japan it's July, so the season is going dry. I think good things will come in September, October. In the summer shows, there's Rising coming up, and after it's dry, and nothing comes until September.
All right, and the RIZIN Podcast, guys, where can people follow you?
Easy enough. YouTube, We Are RIZIN Podcast, very easy to find. Twitter at We Are RIZIN Pod. My personal is at abenja1 if you want to just see me rant about wrestling or other things. SoundCloud is also there, which will be updated shortly, I can assure you. But it's mostly on YouTube right now.
Oh, yeah, of course. You always say that, but it hasn't been updated in quite a long time. But yeah, like Andrew said, you can follow us on Twitter at We Are RIZIN Pod. That's WeareRIZINPod, all in one word. You can follow Andrew on Twitter and Instagram at abenja1. You can follow me on Twitter at ChrisGary92 and on here on Instagram at ChristianGary1992. And also for my little side project, you can follow Focus Fights Audio on Facebook and Instagram at Focus Fights, and on Twitter at Focus_Fights, and the YouTube channel is up there as well. Just, search at I mean, just search in parentheses focus fights through Google and you'll find it. It's like the first result there.
All right, so I got like 10 seconds left, but, because they time us now. But I appreciate you guys taking the time, and take care.